In 1874, silver was discovered near the Peacock Mountains. A camp formed, and in 1878, the Hackberry Post Office opened. In 1883, the railroad laid tracks 4 miles north of Hackberry. Now near the tracks rose a new Hackberry. In the 1920s, as Route 66 opened, Hackberry had a new lease on life. About 50 years later, when Interstate 40 opened, Route 66 almost disappeared. Today, Route 66 and Hackberry receive tourists from all over the world.
My name is Fernanda. I am from Brazil, São Paulo, and I'm loving this trip. 66 is marvelous.
My name is Luis Fernando. I'm from Brazil too. It's the first time with a motorcycle here, and Route 66 is like a dream for us. It's everything that we always imagining. This road is really fantastic, and we are very loving this road.
But when the town moved down here and stuff in the 1900s, a gold mine is pretty much closed up and stuff, and it was just a railroad town. And in 1934, when Route 66 came through, the road was actually moved up to where it is now instead of through the little town, because it was just a dirt road and it went through the wash and over the tracks, so they realigned the road a little bit and got it out of the wash. So the road you see out here was built in 1934. The store was built in 1934, and there was 3 stores in the little town of Hackberry all on Route 66. This is the only one left. The store survived up until 1978. In 78, the old store closed down. There was actually a little movie filmed here in 78 called Roadhouse 66. It was all filmed in through this section of Route 66 and basically in Kingman. A typical car and girl movie type thing and stuff like that. And in the early 90s, I think 92 or 93, Bob Waldemar bought the old store, and he lived here for 4 years, and he closed it down. And then I bought it from him, and the stuff you see around here is just junk that I've collected over about 40 years of traveling around, picking up stuff here and there. And that's pretty much the history of Hackberry and the store here.
If you don't know whose signs these are, you haven't driven very far. Vermicelli. In 1927, while hunting rabbits, Walter Peck, an employee of the Santa Fe Railroad, took a shortcut across a field. Walter stumbled and fell into a hole. But this wasn't any hole. Walter could see deep into the middle of a large cavern, one that he had almost fell into. Walter Peck had discovered the Grand Canyon caverns. Today, tourists from around the world visit the caverns. The caverns are 230 feet below ground level, or 21 stories in the elevator. In 1963, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the United States government stored food and water in the caverns to be used in an emergency. This old bobcat was found in the caverns in 1950, but died about 100 years earlier. These caverns are the largest dry caverns in the United States and receive about 40,000 visitors every year. For anyone driving Arizona's old Route 66, the Grand Canyon Caverns are a great family attraction. You know, I spent a lot of time out in this old desert. It can be a pretty rough place. You never want to get caught unprepared out here. You ought to always have plenty of water, a good hat, first aid kit, and a cell phone. As for me, I always bring my buddy with me. Now let's go see what kind of wildlife we can find. Now this is chloride. Now silver was discovered here in 1863. By the 1870s, they were building a town. By 1900, Chloride had a population of about 2,000. After the mine shut down in the 1930s and 40s, Chloride about dried up. By the 1950s, there were about 100 residents left in Chloride. Now Chloride today has a population of about 350, making it truly a living ghost town.
My name's Don Robertson, and I own this ghost town. We call it the Gold King Mine and Ghost Town. I grew up on a farm in Iowa, and I was always a farm mechanic, and so I always got to work on the old machinery and stuff, and I still love the old machinery. So I moved to Arizona, and I'm a union diesel heavy equipment mechanic, and I always made more money than I needed, so I spent it buying stuff like you're going to see around here. And I had so much stuff piled on my property in Lake Havasu City that the county was getting on my case, so I had to find another place to put it where I wouldn't get in trouble. And so I traveled around looking for a ghost town site to buy, and this is the one I ended up with. And that was 28 years ago, and things have gone really good since then. So what you're going to see around here is my collection of things for almost 50 years. And you'll probably agree, I got the really good stuff. I collect just the very rare stuff that America was built with.
This is one of the oldest outliving sawmills left. You can find a treasure of artifacts in the Gold King Mine in Jerome, Arizona. Let's walk around and see what else we can find. This old mine here operated from 1898 to 1914. When you're around these mines, you have to obey the signs. They can be very, very deadly. This old boy's got a little bit of everything. If you're ever around Jerome, Arizona, come and check out the Gold King Mine. Well, folks, that's about all of the Gold King Mine. I see the sun's getting straight up above us. About time to go get some grub. You know, all this walking around has made me tired and thirsty. Let's go down to Jerome and see what we can find. Originally founded in 1876 as a copper mining camp. By 1920, Jerome was the fourth largest city in Arizona, with a population of about 15,000. The Depression of the 1930s slowed most mining in the state, and the jobs around Jerome began to disappear. By the 1950s, Jerome was a ghost town. Today, it is one of the most famous ghost towns in the West. Tourists come from all over to look for ghosts and hear the stories. Originally built in 1926 by the United Verde Mining Company as a hospital, the Jerome Grand Hotel is home to dozens of ghost stories. Guests have reported hearing coughing and footsteps throughout the building. There's also been several sightings. On the front desk in the lobby, there's a large black book that contains stories from guests who have witnessed unexplained events while visiting the hotel. Tell you the truth, all this ghost stories gives me the creeps. Around 1900, a Mexican prospector searching for lost burros accidentally discovered gold about 2 miles north of Oatman. By 1907, his discovery had produced over 2 million in gold. By 1910, Gold Road, as it became known, had between 300 and 400 buildings. The Depression of the 1930s ended most mining in this area. By 1940, it was reported that about $7.5 million in gold came out of the Gold Road mine. Today, the mine operates mostly as a tourist attraction, and nobody knows what became of the Mexican. You know, Arizona's always been famous for its gunfighters. Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday. Now we have a new type of gunfighter, putting on shows for tourists.